when we look at how our government has been transformed since the assassination of JFK, it wasn't just one president. It was a coup. And what we have had is a government of the CIA, by the CIA, for the CIA ever since that. Every president that has come along since JFK has got big ties to the CIA. And so Plumlee's memoir, as this is a Free Thought Project review of his book, it's pretty thorough. It even, actually, the original article comes from Covert Action Magazine, and they even have footnotes on their article, quoting where you can find what they had to say in terms of where it is in his book. And of course, what he has done has been documented quite a bit. He's testified before many of these committees, commissions that are investigating these issues. And yet somehow there's always somebody that's running the committee or the commission that spikes what he had to say, that hides it, that covers it up, doesn't even quote it in their commission. Were they talking about the Warren Commission, or were they talking about John Kerry's investigations? John Kerry, another guy with connections to the CIA, who was permitted to run for president. So his memoir shows the CIA often worked hand in glove with organized crime and was the one at times smuggling drugs into the U.S. Wait a minute. At times smuggling drugs? Continuously. They have been doing this continuously. They didn't even mention in here, because he wasn't involved in it, what the CIA was doing in Afghanistan. You know, they had their cocaine route, their crack cocaine stuff out of Central America, but they're also involved in the opium trade. And they were, after we took over Afghanistan, then Afghanistan became the number one place for opioids. It had gone from a small contributor. Actually, it wasn't small. It's like something like 10%, but it went to over 90%, record amounts every year while we were there. That was the CIA's doing. As a matter of fact, all this stuff, the entire Afghanistan war was as well. He claims that on the morning that JFK was killed, that he was flying a group of people, and he names the names, members of an assassination team into Dallas. He starts the story by noting that he was paid as a CIA pilot for years through cutout companies like Riddle and Dodge and Atlantic Richfield. Again, Atlantic Richfield. At one time, it's now been swallowed up by other companies. Now Marathon, and before that it was swallowed up by BP. But at the time this was happening, it was one of the largest of the oil companies at that point in time. And of course, we've seen the case of many of these people after they get out of the CIA, whether you're talking about George H.W. Bush, or whether you're talking about the lieutenant governor of Texas at one point in time, Dewhurst. These guys, after they got out of the CIA, became billionaires in the oil business, set them up. Dewhurst spent more money to get elected to the lieutenant governorship in Texas than anybody ever spent to get a state elected office at that point in time. And he was the one, as lieutenant governor, as leader of the Senate, who stopped the pushback against the TSA and the body scanners and the pat-downs and all the rest of the stuff. He was the one who organized and got that shut down. That's the kind of people that they put in, the CIA does. Plumlee and his colleagues did not know the overall mission by design since, as he pointed out, it was deeply compartmentalized. There was no discernible structure. The hallmarks were illusion, deception, and sleight of hand, according to him. But again, folks, the CIA is the cancer that metastasized and killed the American government. This American government has no relationship whatsoever to its original design. It has repudiated the Constitution and all of the principles and the letter of the law. And the CIA has been at the epicenter of this. It's not just about JFK. And when you look at their deep involvement with the drug war, you begin to realize just what they're trying to do. The drug war is more than just a way for them to get power, more than just a way for them to fund their secret wars like Iran-Contra. It is a blueprint for subverting the rule of law. That's why I've always opposed it. I've always been accused by people who didn't know me when I push back against the drug war. Oh, you libertarians, you just want to be able to use drugs freely and all the rest of the stuff. It's like, not me, not me. Libertarians would kind of embrace that and make fun of it. It's like, should heroin be sold out of vending machines? I'm asked. Well, I say only if they're privately owned. That is not my position at all. But I don't want to see prohibition. It always fails. And it is, the CIA used it to corrupt, and they used it to destroy the rule of law. Plumlee claims that his group was modeled after the World War II demolition unit called the Filthy 13, which was the inspiration for the movie The Dirty Dozen, if you remember that. It's kind of a hodgepodge of outcasts trained to infiltrate behind enemy lines. Plumlee says that at age 19 in 1957, he was recruited to fly to central Cuba for the purpose of supplying ammunition and weapons to Fidel Castro's rebels. Yeah, oh, well, we supported Fidel Castro. Well, guess what? We supported CIA, let's say we, the CIA government, supported Fidel Castro. At the same time, they were also selling weapons to Batista government. Where have we seen that before? We've seen this constantly. We've seen this throughout the Middle East wars, where the U.S. government is supplying weapons to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all the rest of these. At the same time, they say that they're fighting them, and they're supplying weapons to the people that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are fighting. They fund both sides of this. What they want is war and chaos, constantly. And so they fund both sides. This is not hedging their bets. This is creating a war, creating chaos. Plumlee came to recognize that some of the CIA operatives working with Castro, like William Morgan, were there to spy on Castro. And Morgan was arrested for counter-revolutionary crimes and shot by a firing squad in March of 1961 with the Castros in attendance. And so as they point out, people who have investigated the CIA for a long time say, well, you look at his narratives and they hold up in terms of what he was recorded by the FBI in terms of when they were investigating the JFK assassination. The things that he was saying to the FBI at that point in time were later proven, but they never made it into the Warren Commission report. In 1958, he says he was sent to Nag's Head School of Illusionary Warfare Training. Been to Nag's Head. I didn't know they had that there. There he met a young Lee Harvey Oswald. The two were together. They were put through a series of tests. They were trained in intelligence techniques and in black ops. When he asked one of the instructors if he and his colleagues were being trained as intelligence agents, the instructor responded, "You're not intelligent enough to be agents, or you wouldn't be in this unit. You're nothing but cannon fodder." And of course, Lee Harvey Oswald said, "I'm just a patsy." Right? In 1961, after the Cuban Revolution was won by Castro, he says he started flying guns and ammunition to the anti-Castro rebels in the Florida Keys, Nicaragua, and in Cuba as part of the CIA effort known as the Cuban Project. He says that he worked under the operational name of William Buck Pearson with legendary CIA operatives such as William K. Harvey, David Atlee Phillips, Tracy Barnes, and E. Howard Hunt. Plumlee could not tell his wife Joan that he was working in intelligence for the U.S. government. He told her he was a cargo pilot for Riddle Airlines, and that was technically true because they were the ones who were paying his salaries, but their marriage broke up because he was gone for so long. One of Plumlee's frequent passengers was Colonel Ralston, whom he knew to be Johnny Roselli, whose mob ties went back to the late 1920s when he was recruited into the Al Capone organization at the 1927 Jack Dempsey-Gene Turney fight. Plumlee said that he would fly Roselli from his home in Tampa to L.A., where he would work in a shop with a fellow CIA operative, Chauncey Holt. They had a shop where they would create fake IDs, forged documents, and badges. He said some of the other names that he dropped: Charles Nicoletti, Detroit mob boss Peter Licavoli, Sam Giancana, These are figures that all were part of the JFK assassination. And November 21st, 2 days before, I think it was it the 23rd, I think, November 23rd? Anyway, in 1963, he was instructed to pick up Roselli in Tampa and escort him to Dallas, where President Kennedy was visiting. Plumlee also picked up E. Howard Hunt and a Cuban exile named Sergio Apabicia in West Palm Beach, Gerard Droller, also known as Frank Bender, and Frank Sturgis, another CIA operative. They were all part of what Plumlee calls an abort or an assassination decoy team. Plumlee says that he and his group landed at Hobby Airport in Houston. Then after a night in the Shamrock Hilton, they set off in the morning to Garland Airport in northeast Dallas. So they drove off in a car that was waiting for them. Plumlee went to a CIA safe house, then with Sergio to see Kennedy's motorcade. At one point, Sergio whispered to him that someone was supposed to hit the president that day. When they reached Dealey Plaza, Sergio took a radio and he started communicating with the other operatives in the plaza. Plumlee said he recognized Rip Robertson and saw E. Howard Hunt crossing the street in the plaza. Several men who looked like railroad workers were at the grassy knoll. He says that as the presidential motorcade passed by, he heard a loud pop that sounded like a firecracker. Two of the shots emanated from the trees behind him in the grassy knoll, and one flew right over his head. Plumlee claims that he saw JFK die, and that the story that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone wolf assassination is total BS. The U.S. on November 22, 1963, experienced a coup d'etat similar to those that the CIA had engineered in countries like Iran and Guatemala 3 weeks earlier in South Vietnam. And of course, that's what they overthrow governments. Look at Iran, 1953. Constantly war, chaos, coups, assassinations. That is the legacy of the continuing legacy of the CIA. And we have not recovered from our coup. After the Kennedy assassination, Plumlee feared he would be targeted in a mop-up operation, which cutouts who knew too much, like himself, Sergio, Chauncey Holt, and others, would be silenced or eliminated. He felt especially vulnerable because of his knowledge that Lee Harvey Oswald was an intelligence operative, that they had trained together for that. Soon after the assassination, he was charged with writing bad checks, and he was locked up in the Denver County Jail. The charge was fictitious. No checks with his signature were ever produced. His cellmate, Jerry Stilley, was convicted of killing a Denver police detective. He later admitted to Plumlee that he had been instructed to kill him in exchange for being given a new trial and released on parole. But after hearing stories of his exploits flying for the CIA, he told Plumlee that he grew to like him, and he decided to spare his life. In 1975, Plumlee was interviewed by investigators working for the Church Committee, which investigated the CIA crimes during the Cold War. This is where they hold up the famous heart attack gun and all the rest of the stuff. But again, what came out of that was FISA. That was supposed to stop the CIA and the NSA from spying on Americans without a search warrant. Instead, what they did was they used it as legal cover to get a search warrant for Mr. and Mrs. Verizon, as Rand Paul has correctly summarized what the role of the FISA court is. And so he said he answered questions with them about the CIA's heart attack gun and his gun-running operations to Castro, his activities aiding anti-Castro rebels during the Bay of Pigs. He says that his testimony was classified top secret and has never been released. So all these people, they keep bringing him in for these commissions, keep asking him these questions, and he tells them, and they classify it, won't release it. They all know. They all know. And they're all afraid of the CIA because it is the one that rules them all. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity, created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.